Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. Hi, I'm Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. And it's not every week that your volleyball team is playing in the state championship. Well, at least 2 years in a row. You know, the team's had an incredible year, and this team's really established some landmarks that other teams are going to have trouble meeting. First, they won 25 games this season, including the playoffs so far, which is a Melrose record. They won the sectional championship for the fourth year in a row, and here the first team that goes to the state championship 2 years in a row.
Yeah, they're ready. I mean, that match against Canton in the semifinals was just amazing, Ron. They played the perfect volleyball. I mean, like we've been talking, after that Marlboro State Championship game last year, I said that they should be the #1 team in the state after that because they raised their level of play to a level I didn't think they'd get to last year. And you knew after that tough loss that they were going to come out this year, and that was going to be their #1 goal. That match against Canton, I mean, I don't think anybody could touch them right now, Ron.
Well, there were some really wonderful pictures from around the internet that are posted on melrosevolleyball.blogspot.com. Don Norris has taken some wonderful shots, and there's a terrific shot from the Boston Globe of Sarah celebrating a point, and she is just a true warrior out there on the court.
Yeah, Sarah really led them last against Canton. She was amazing. As a matter of fact, in the second set, when they were having some problems, she was sitting out during those 2 rotations that she takes a break on. And they got behind by, I think, 6 or 7 points, but then when she came back in, they got it together again. But she really led the team. But you know what's amazing with this team, Ron? There's no weakness.
Well, I think that's really the point. The team is greater than the sum of the parts. As you were saying before, the front row blocks really well, which takes pressure off the back row. The back row's passing ability helps Brooke get the ball to the hitters where they need it.
Yeah, they all help each other. I mean, when I was thinking about it, I'm saying they're so good defensively, but the back row takes pressure off the front row because they get the ball to Brooke where she wants it so she can set up the front row. The front row takes the pressure off the back row because they're getting their hands on just about every kill attempt. And I mean, in the back row, when they don't get their hands on the back row, is just doing an amazing job getting the ball to Brooke. And Brooke's doing a great job of getting it to the hitters and mixing things up. And Brooke's also doing a great job when they need a big point of getting a kill on her own as a setter. She has a knack to get the ball deep into one of the corners. And I don't know, she's looking at the ball, but she knows where the opening is. And in key spots in the game, she's getting the kill. And that happened in the Canton game. But it's amazing to me. I just watch him. It's unbelievable. I mean, I said at the beginning of the year, Ron, that 2 great teams playing in volleyball, you want to see that match. But it's just been unbelievable lately, the way they're playing.
Well, I think that the key for them is Coach Shelley's willingness to schedule anybody and play anywhere. You know, the Middlesex League, let's face it, isn't that strong in volleyball. It is getting better. Reading is always good. Burlington and Winchester are coming up. Stoneham's coming up. But you know, there aren't any top 20 teams besides Melrose in the Middlesex League. But he's always got the 3 games against the Catholic schools, AC, Fenwick, and Central. And he goes out of his way to schedule top flight competition when they're willing to play Melrose.
Right, look what he did with Newton Knott, the final game. Senior night, he schedules the toughest team, one of the toughest teams in the state, to meet his #2 team. I rate Melrose 1, Newton Knott 2, and Barnstable 3. You know, that's just my rating. You know, they're the 3 top teams in the state. But look what he does. He schedules Newton Knott and senior night, the last match of the season. And they lost 3-2, but it was the best thing that could happen to them. They played a great match in that.
Absolutely. You know, they're tuned up for the playoffs. They played, you know, Newton North's ranked in I think the top 100 teams in the country. Really outstanding team. They have a player who's going to be playing Division I for Bucknell, Keen Brazda. She's a setter, but she's also a hitter. Just a terrific player, number 42, if you happen to see that game. And it prepared the team for the tough competition that they faced, especially against Canton. Outstanding team, well coached. I think Canton is they couldn't really believe they lost.
Well, to me, we talk about it. We both believe that Coach Shelley's the best coach in the state. I believe he's the best high school coach I've ever seen in any sport. I just know it because you've been around them even longer than me. You've been, you know, at every game, you do every game. I just like going to the big matches. Because when our daughters played, I used to hate going when they used to kill those teams. But You've seen it all, and he's just an unbelievable coach. The girls love playing for him. And the one thing about his teams, they get better as the year goes on. And when they get to the States, like against Marlboro last year, I was shocked how good they played. Marlboro was the number 2 team in the state last year. Melrose was considered one of the top 10 teams in the state. But Melrose played equal with him in that state final.
Well, I was emailing with Fabe Ardilla, who was here not too long ago, and Fabe's the coach at Weston that got to the North sectional semifinals. And he went to support Sarah and Julia Murphy, whom he coached. And he said Melrose just had too much depth. And if you look at players who don't get as much recognition, just in the front row, Jen Kane is a terrific all-around player, good in the back row too. Rachel and Kayla are phenomenal blocking, and I think they both had 8 kills the other night.
DeBarry's come a long way, a junior.
DeBarry's done a really good job working on that strong side hitting position. And the back row was excellent, especially with a low ceiling at Billerica. They kept the ball off the ceiling, which I thought was going to be tough.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I mean, they're not going to be underrated now because they're going to be the state champs, all right? They're not going to be underrated, none of the players, even the players that don't come off the bench that are could be stars on other teams. But the one player, Ron, how many players can you have in a state, all state players? I mean, They have Brooke Bell, who was in Sarah McGowan, who are definitely deserving of all state. But Jen Kane, I mean, come on. There's a player there who's as good as any player I've seen this year all around. She's just a tremendous volleyball player. To me, she's underrated because she should be all-state. How many are you going to have? And
Right.
then you got, like you said, you love Rachel Johnson and Kayla at the net. I mean, those 2 players can play on any team in the state. They're stars.
Yeah, they impact every game the way they block, and also Kayla's very good at setting the ball to other front row players, which
She's very good.
It's not necessarily an easy skill. I think Kayla is going to be a very good player in college when she plays there.
Well, you've been saying that for a long time. You've been saying that Kayla, started late playing. You can see her improving, and you and Coach Kelly can really read people, players good, because throughout the years when you've told me about certain players, they end up being stars. You and Coach Kelly loved Rachel when she was a freshman, I think. You said she's going to be great at the net. I just remember Rachel from basketball. And look at Rachel now.
Well, Rachel has superior timing. She's not the tallest player out there, but she just has a knack, the timing to get her hands on the ball.
And you got someone like DeBarry. If she works in a game, she's going to be a star next year. I could see it in her. DeBarry, she's going to be a tremendous outside hitter.
Well, and they have a lot of young players. A player who's on the bench right now, she's a sophomore, just got called up for the postseason. I think Mary Lessing is going to be a terrific player, someday going to be an all-league player for Melrose if she applies herself and develops. She's got real good size, good leaping ability, can hit the ball and can block. I'll predict that she will be a star someday.
Yeah, and you have Jill McGinnis, who will be a senior next year with all the experience she's gotten in the last 2 years. That's another great move by Coach Kelly last year, playing her in the back row. Look at her now. She's one of the best liberos in the state right now. And then you got Nolan, Allie Nolan,
Well,
who's going to be great.
It was in the 3rd game against Canton. It was 16-13, and somebody made a hit for Canton. It was kind of a topspin hit. Jill got down and did a pancake dig. Well, what that means, she had her hands extended like this. Now, back in the day, people would go after the ball like this. Well, if you hit the ball like that, the ball just dies in your hand. So she got the hard part of her hand on the ball, popped up in the air. Kayla got it in the air. They got it over the net, and Canton hit the ball out. And that was a huge point. It goes from, instead of 16-14, it goes to 17-13. And, it's one of those very little notice. But Melrose makes a few of those plays every game now because the players are so good and so experienced.
Right, and you have Amanda Cometto, and again, Allie Nolan back there playing a lot. Well, Amanda too. I mean, both of them are having great seasons. Sometimes I think Amanda's a little too hard on herself. After one great match she had played, and I'm looking at her, and she had a tremendous match, and at the end of the match, I was talking to her, and she was a little upset. I said, you weren't upset about just one non-play.
Well, I went up to her after the last game against Canton. She says, it's okay, I'm happy today.
But she's a heck of a kid, and she's had a tremendous season. That whole back row, you know how important the back row is. You remember from the start when you started watching volleyball.
Well, I don't think I really understood what was going on, but I remember when Amanda was setter, I just thought the setter chased around, got the ball, and hit it somewhere.
But I mean, I've never seen a team work like this team does. No matter who he has out there, all 6 players work so well together and they make it easier for each other. It's just unbelievable the way they work together.
Well, and the other part of the story is when you're at practice every day, some of those players know they're not going to get a lot of time on the floor, but you know they're out there working hard every second. He says you can't take plays off during practice because you have to make your teammates better, and you have to develop yourself for the future.
Look at the player you really like, Cassidy Barbaro. Look what she's done when he started putting her in the serve.
Right. One of the parents came up to me one time and said, I'm so happy for her. She worked on varsity 2.5 years, didn't get a lot of playing time, never complained, kept working hard. Now she has a big role.
Unbelievable, Ron. She is hitting bullets on the serve. And I'll tell you, Canton did an unbelievable job returning because she was hitting bullets. She was the best server in both teams the other day.
Right.
I mean, she was in Canton. I mean, Canton was an excellent team that we just dominated.
Well, she had 17 serves. The box score was in maxpreps.com, and she got 16 in, and she didn't just tap the ball over the net. She was really slamming the ball.
Another person, Maeve Moriarty, when she got in there, she serves well, too. I saw her when one of the matches, was it against Arlington Catholic she got in?
Yes.
And then she's been watching Brooke because one time she got a winner. She hit it down the corner.
Right. And after this season is over, 7 seniors are graduating, but the team is not going to go back to mediocrity. They're going to still be very strong next year, and no reason to expect that they won't continue to be one of the top teams around.
Yeah, another player who's had a great season, and I have to give her credit, Sydney Doherty. She's had a real good season, but the Barry beat her out as the season was going on towards the end. The Barry, a great player, and Sydney right behind her. You know, Sydney's a very good player. But, you know, she's the one kid who can handle this. She's all about team. You know, she wants badly to get in there, but she's all about team. And, you know, I've been watching her. You know, she's handling it properly. A senior, you know, who would love to be in there.
One thing that may be different about this team, there have been plenty of individual honors to go around. We don't know about the league, all league selections, but Sarah and Brooke have been named All-State again for Division II. They've also been named All-Scholastic by the Boston Globe. But I'm sure if you asked any one of those kids, they want to win the state championship far above any individual awards.
You can see it in their face. I mean, when they're playing, I mean, it's just remarkable to me. The other night watching them play against Canton, the desire they had playing and how much they were just so intense in the game. It's so up for it. And they were so positive during that match. They knew they were going to win because they knew they could trust each other. Chelly's had great teams throughout the years, the 10 years I've been watching. He's had a lot of great teams. This team here just works so well together. And again, there's not one weak link on that team. They all count on each other, and they make it easier for each other, Ron.
Well, the off-season for all these players, there is no off-season anymore. Most of them are playing volleyball all year round, and it shows in the experience, the talent, and the confidence that they have.
You know, I'm looking forward to Saturday's match because, again, I'm really confident just watching the girls. I just know how they're going to come out and play. They're going to play the best volleyball they can, and they're just too strong for most teams. I mean, you know, a Newton Knott and a Barnstable would go head-to-head with them. But the way they're playing now, I don't know. Is it Longmeadow?
Longmeadow.
Well, I don't know if Longmeadow can play with them.
Well, let's talk about football. Football, had a couple of tough losses, but they're playing really well right now.
It's a tremendous football team. You know, I mean, I would say, you have the Everetts, you have the top teams in the state, but they're right there. I mean, I would say right now, we know they're as good as Burlington, who's going to make the tournament. I mean, they're just playing tremendous football. You know, we remarked in the last game that they don't have any weak players in that team. They all can play the game of football. They're real good football players. They play well together, and they're getting better and better on. I'm looking forward to that Wakefield game. Wakefield's playing great. It's going to be a great matchup.
Well, I happened to run into Maria Morris, and she said, I hope that I can break out the champagne this year. She says it's just so hard for us to beat Wakefield.
Wakefield won't see this before. No, they might.
They might.
I was talking to one of the coaches, the Melrose coaches, and they said you're going to get your wish. So you know what my wish is on defense. He said you're going to get your wish because we've been working on that.
Well, Wakefield is a very much a passing team. Their quarterback, I think, it's either Mike Miller or Mark Miller. Yeah, I think he had 17 touchdown passes so far. They're going to throw the ball. It's pretty tough to run against Melrose, so I think Melrose has to be ready to defend the air game. You know,
one thing about the players, too, it's not all about making the playoffs. It really isn't. I mean, when you look at this team, it's all about how they work together. We talk about volleyball being the ultimate team sport. I mean, the way these kids are working together in football, I mean, the linebackers are having a terrific season, led by Mercer, who's just been unbelievable. He should definitely be all league in that league. And Anderson's having a great year with Real again. That offensive line, they all work together.
And Mike DeRaffaelle's been excellent, although I don't know
if he's hurting.
He looks, he doesn't look like the same player right now. So he's not a big kid, and he takes a lot of punishment in the middle there.
But he's had a great year at linebacker, and he's been running the ball well. Whenever they give him the ball, he's tough to bring down, him and Mercer. I'd love to see them mix it up Thanksgiving because they have so many talented players.
Oh, Real's had a wonderful year.
Anderson.
Campbell's had a great year, both receiving and at safety.
And McKinley's had a real good year, especially, he didn't start at cornerback. He's been terrific. He covered that kid Mooney last week, did a good job against him. The one pass that Mooney caught, he was all over him, but he used his strength on McKinley.
Yeah, Mooney's a terrific player.
Yeah, how about Campbell at free safety? Campbell's had a terrific year, and his receiving.
So that they're really, Stoneham's a very good program now. They've brought that program back, and Melrose did an excellent job limiting them in a very good football game.
Yeah, you have to give Coach Morris and his coaching staff, I was on them earlier in the year because I thought they were too vanilla, but they've really picked it up. They've become one of the best teams in the state. And next year they're going to be as good because that sophomore class coming up, they're going to be a number of DeRaffaels on that coming up from that sophomore class. As much as he improved from between the sophomore and junior year, they got about 5 or 6 kids just like him as sophomores. And then you're going to have DeRaffael and you're going to have Mercer in the middle next year. They're going to be running the ball a lot. That kid Hickey and Garrett will be the quarterback. Hopefully DeFonso and a couple of those other young linemen can pick it up. But it always seems every year the linemen, they have a good offense and defensive line.
Yeah, you wondered after graduation last year what it would look like, but the lines have been solid both ways.
But I think that's Morris's expertise in Kent. I know Kent handles the defensive line. He's a very good coach. Defensive line's had a heck of it. The last 3 years they've been tremendous. So the program's definitely going in the right direction. I think they're going to be strong for years to come, just the way the whole setup is.
Well, I've been surprised how well they've thrown the ball this year. Certainly Real's done a good job, and he's made good decisions. Knock on wood, not keeping the turnovers to a minimum.
Well, Campbell's come up big time as an end. Federico made a big catch the other day playing end. Mostly he's been playing defensive end. And, they've had McKinley go out, Garrett. They've caught some big passes, especially against Burlington. They both caught
and last year, they had some issues in the kicking game against Wakefield. And he's been nailing everything
Only a
lately.
junior. He's going to be unreal next year. But that offensive line, you have McCormick centering, you have Gelati, you have Trider, you have Steele, Ferreira. They've basically been the front five. And then you slide down Griffin at times for tight end, sometimes Federico. But they've done an unbelievable job. And Mercer leading from the fullback's position. How many times has Mercer led Anderson or DeRaffael or McKinley?
And we'll have to talk about the football restructuring of playoffs another time. We'll be right back.
At Athletic Evolution, it starts with a purpose and ends with your success. Visit our website or drop into our training facility at 78B Olympia Avenue, Woburn, Mass. Athletic Evolution, giving you the edge.
Welcome back. I wanted to say something about cognitive dissonance, which is kind of highfalutin, but it has to do with modern psychological theory. And it's about the theory and impact of conflicting beliefs, in effect messing with your mind. For example, the classic example is the fox in Aesop's fables who sees grapes above and he's really hungry and he says, wow, those grapes would really taste good. And then he realizes he can't get them, so he says, "Oh, they're probably sour, they wouldn't be good anyway." Or Richard Pryor's famous line says, who are you going to believe, your beloved husband or your lying eyes? But I digress. The Red Sox talked about signing Torrey Hunter. Torrey Hunter is a 37-year-old outfielder who strikes out more than 100 times every single year. This year he had an OPS of .817 and had 19 home runs for the Angels. Good year. He just got a $26 million contract for 2 years with the Tigers. That just messes with my mind. I can't believe it. I'm glad the Red Sox didn't sign him. That's too much money. He's old. He's okay, but he's not a $26 million player anymore.
Well, you know what the Tigers are looking at. You know, they came close this year, although they got swept. But they're thinking they get him in the lineup, just adds a little more. Maybe that's enough to get them the World Championship. We'll take the chance and pay $13 million over the next 2 years. I mean, it is, to me, it's like throwing away money because he's not going to, unless he goes on the steroids or whatever,
Oh,
he's not going to really help him much this year.
He's probably going to run into a fence or slip on the warning track and have a broken leg, and then they're going to be saying, like, why do we spend all this money?
Well, they moved him from center field to left field, right, this year, the Angels?
I don't know. He's a really good player. He's supposed to be a great guy in the clubhouse, but that's a ton of money. So I have trouble with that. But there's more like that. You know, Lance Armstrong. Is he a hero or is he a villain? Or he is a hero and a villain. You know, but we all know that cycling is one of the dirtiest sports around. So, okay, so you punish Lance Armstrong, take him off, live strong and all that stuff. But, you know the next guy's going to be cheating too.
Yeah, you always worry about, you don't know. In the Olympics, you don't know who's on it and who's not on it. You know, it's kind of a shame because the people that do well, you know, and especially in Jamaica, you know, the people who do well, I guess the second quickest run is from Jamaica too, fastest runner. You don't know if they're on it or not. You just look at them. All of a sudden they become the fastest runners in the world.
Well, you know, you're always developing these new tests. If you have a better mousetrap, but then you end up getting better mice. So, I mean, how many players, when they get time comes for getting voted into the Hall of Fame, I just don't think you can tell who cheated and who didn't. So you might as well just put everybody in based on what they accomplished, because you just can't separate the cheaters from the non-cheaters.
Yeah, you look at the Red Sox and Yankees, A-Rod and Clemens, okay? You know, both on steroids. Look at the Red Sox.
Ortiz and Ramirez. And both teams won championships because of that. The main reason is because they had their star players on steroids. It's as simple as that. And then they knocked the Patriots for Spygate. Didn't help him at all. He probably didn't even know who was giving signals, Belichick, and he did it because everybody else was doing it and they were getting away with it. Well, you know, I know the other part of the equation, it says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But
how about football? How many of them are on steroids in football? It's amazing. Those guys just get so big.
Or growth hormone or something.
They go from 240 pounds in college to 330 pounds in the pros. I mean, you kidding me?
Well, anyway, we should talk about the Patriots, of course, because we're a little bit more than halfway through the season. They're 6-3. They're playing pretty well offensively. Defensively, I don't see them good enough to win a Super Bowl because they have to rely on the other team to make some stupid mistake, which isn't going to happen probably. But, you know, they add Aqib Talib this week, so we'll see what the deal is on him.
Yeah, I just think Belichick, I don't know, I just don't have the confidence in Belichick anymore. I mean, how can you have the worst defense in football 3 years in a row, one of the worst defenses? I mean, everybody's watching it. You know they have no pass rush up the middle. So what if they have 3 or 4 sacks from the outside some games too? If you're not pressuring up the middle, the other team doesn't care if you sack them 2 times in a game. You want to disturb the quarterback. Even if you don't get to him, you want to disturb him. They're not disturbing anyone, and then they're putting all the pressure on the backs.
Well, the argument advanced this week was Buffalo isn't like any other team in the NFL. They got all these small, really fast guys, and the Patriots aren't designed with their linebackers to deal with them. So they're really more designed to cope with bigger teams who have more power. You know, we'll see how that theory works out.
But you know, Ron, you know what gets me too? You get the Patriots, they drive down the field. Brady's feeling good about himself. The offense is feeling great. Then you see Brady in the sidelines sitting there waiting for the stupid defense to get off the field, and sometimes they're like 10 minutes they're waiting. By that time, the offense is sitting there, they're cold.
Well, what about their first and goal on the one, and they try to run a quick play? Who are you gonna fool? And then they lose 3 yards, and they end up kicking a field goal at the end of the game.
I think Belichick should thank God that he's had Brady all these years. Really, I think it's definitely been Brady when the offense, and Belichick, since Bruschi and them left, he's really done a terrible job with the defense. And even the offensive coordinator now, McDaniels, I don't like the way he's calling plays at times. How do you run the ball twice in a row and have 3rd and 7 for Brady, and then they're blitzing Brady?
Well, and then you wonder why the Patriots don't want to sign Welker long term. He has one for a touchdown, drops right in his hands. Another one, he's running down the seam, he drops. So if he catches 6, he drops 1 or 2, and that's really not acceptable for a professional player, regardless of how much money you're making.
But he's got to change his thinking on defense. He's got to blitz more up the middle. Even if they don't get to the quarterback, you're making him feel uneasy. You can't step up in the pocket. But when you don't blitz up the middle, I don't care what Jones is doing and Ninkovich is doing, coming in from the outside, because they're not getting him that often. I mean, Jones has 6 sacks this year. Ninkovich has 5. That's 11 sacks from your 2 rushes in 9 games. Big deal. But what people don't realize is when Jones and Ninkovich are rushing from the outside, they're not making the quarterback uneasy because they're outside of him.
Right. If we think back to the Cardinals game, think about those 2 tackles from the Cardinals who put so much pressure on Brady up the middle, and he was really,
You don't have to get to him. The key is don't let him step up in the pocket. Let him back up a step. He's off balance. He's not seeing the field as well. But they have poor cornerbacks, and the safeties without Chung in there are not real good. What do you do to make it easy for him? Put pressure on the quarterback. But Belichick, last week he got lucky against Buffalo. He rushed three. Right. He had 3 rushes. He's standing back there. His backs aren't good enough to stay with the man's line.
Well, I think some of the problem, which also has been addressed in the media, is Belichick. What drives him crazy is people making the same mistake over and over again. And when the safeties let guys get behind him for touchdown passes, that just drove him crazy. And Wilson did it 2 games in a row, and seen Wilson's playing time go way down.
I think except for the offensive line, they're well coached. Except for there, I don't think any other position he has real good coaching. He wants to be in charge of everything.
Well, it seems like the running backs have done a pretty good job this year. Ridley's been excellent, and Wood has been tremendous. I don't know how he does what he does. He's so little, but anyway, he does what he does. Now, there's a lot of other stories in football. If we talked about the first half MVP of the NFL, that would be tough. Some people were advancing the theory about Peyton Manning. I mean, Denver was really good even without Manning last year. And Matt Ryan, what can you say about him?
Yeah, he lost. Breeze outplayed him last week. Breeze has got it going now. New Orleans, watch out for them.
Yeah, New Orleans is picking up steam. And real good football game. It was kind of an old-fashioned bad weather game with Houston and the Bears. Low scoring, and Cutler took a wicked hit. I mean, whatever the maximum fine is, that guy's going to get that.
And then these people, what gets me is the defensive linemen. I said a number of times, they say the quarterback should wear skirts. They don't realize, you're a defensive lineman. Say you're a defensive lineman. You're going to be back there throwing the ball. You have no protection. You're throwing the ball. You're looking at receivers, and you got people coming at you and hitting you where you can't defend yourself. Of course they have to change the rules a little for the quarterbacks. They'd all be out if they didn't.
Well, the Patriots took some very questionable penalties. I mean, not bad officiating, just Dennard hit the guy out of bounds, no question about that. Mayo tackled the guy 3 yards out of bounds. And then the Spikes play was kind of a tough one. Spikes will hit anything, and the fact that Fitzpatrick's helmet flew off, you knew he was going to get
Well, the problem
penalty.
with Spikes hit is he knew he had released the ball. I mean, when he was hitting it, he couldn't stop from hitting him, but he knew he released the ball when he went at him and hit him and threw him landed on top of him. And they don't want the defensive players playing like that. If the quarterback gives up the ball, I mean, they don't want you pounding him to the ground.
Right. And some I think it was Felger said, well, he should have just shoved him. Well, he probably would have got a penalty for that too.
No, I see a lot of linemen come in and they'll hit him with their upper body, but they know he threw the ball away, so they won't force him to the ground like Spikes did.
Yeah, so I didn't really have any problem with the penalty calls. Just the concept is taking bad penalties. And then, of course, I'm not sure when they play Pittsburgh, but they say Roethlisberger could be out indefinitely. He got between his collarbone and his breastbone, apparently had a separation. And they said part of the bone is close to his aorta, and they're worried if he got hit, he could get trauma to it, the big blood vessel in his chest, bleed to death. So, Roethlisberger is going to be out a while.
Yeah, he'll be out probably for the whole season, I would imagine, unless they operate on that. How are they going to get that away from him?
I don't know.
And even if they operate on him, then he'll definitely be out.
And I think Pittsburgh plays Baltimore 2 out of the next 3 weeks, so the Ravens are tough anyway, even without Ray Lewis.
It comes down with the Patriots. You don't fear anybody. Really, there's no team to fear. You just got to fear yourself, and hopefully keep getting better and better, and hopefully that defense gets better. And hopefully Belichick gets some sense in his head where he understands that he has to put pressure on the quarterback. I mean, I don't know what he's waiting for.
Well, and speaking of cognitive dissonance, what about the Jets? That is a mess down there.
I'm still worried about that game, though, there.
I know. They have a pretty good defense. Their offense has been mostly abysmal. There's apparently open warfare in the locker room with a lot of people saying Tebow's a problem there. I don't know what he's doing or not doing, but Rex Ryan doesn't seem to have good control of the situation.
Well, defensive players are saying they shouldn't put Tebow in there to run because everybody knows he's going to run and he's not doing much. So let him fake the run and pass. You can still throw the ball a little.
Can't be much worse than Sanchez.
But we got a big game tonight, Ron. Buffalo and Miami.
Well,
imagine that on Thursday night.
Probably the loser gets knocked out of the division.
It looks good for the Pats, though. They keep beating each other. I mean, what are they, 3 games ahead now in their division? But the Pats, again, it's all going to come down to hopefully, is it Talib?
Aqib Talib.
Talib plays well this Sunday. They have a good game against Indianapolis. I'm looking forward. I'm hoping they're playing real good football when they go up against San Francisco and Houston at home.
Right. I mean, it'd be really nice to win one of those games.
You want to get both of them at home?
I mean, San Francisco didn't look that great against the Giants.
And Houston's not great. They're good. They're good defensively. But basically, Brady's been doing a good job against the good defenses until the fourth period.
I just worry about J.J. Watt, taking Brady's head off. But on Houston, he's a terrific defensive lineman, high-energy guy. What else do we have to say in the NFL?
Well, Green Bay looks good again. They've won some big games. Rodgers looks good. He's got them going pretty good. So I think my prediction is that Green Bay comes out of that league. There's some good teams there. The one team that fears me the most, I'm afraid of the most in the AFC is Denver.
Well, Denver's
got it going.
They got an easy schedule, so they're probably going to get the bye the first week, assuming that it'll be Denver and Houston with the byes.
Well, we got that game and we beat them, so we're tied with them right now. So you got to hope that Denver loses 2 more games.
Right, but I don't even know if they can with what they're playing. They have mostly their divisional foes, which aren't that strong.
We don't want to go to Denver, I'll tell you.
Oh, that's been a house of horrors for the Patriots over the years.
But that's what I look at. I think Denver's a team to beat there. I think the Pats can handle Houston. Denver with Manning. Manning's still great. And I think, again, if the Pats can get their defense together and McDaniels changes his thinking a little, I think he's just running the ball way too much. That's my feeling.
Okay. Not a lot to say about hockey. They are continuing to have their discussions, but the discussions don't seem to be going too far.
I listened to Cam Neely this morning on KISS 108. They interview him every once in a while.
Okay.
Maddie in the morning. They get along well. Because I've never heard you so down. He said, what do you expect? He goes, there's really nothing going on now, with the team,
Well, you'd think that
stoppage.
I mean,
so everybody's down, Ron.
Not every team is making money, but I heard, for example, that Toronto makes profit. Forget about, expenses. They make $45 million a year. Well, if you have a business that makes $45 million a year and they're asking you for some revenue sharing to some other team, I'd say, yeah, I'm willing to give up $5 million out of my $45 million.
But know what I heard, though? Some of these teams, probably some of the warm weather teams, they're saying they're making more money by not playing than if they played. I don't know how, contracts, but if you have a contract, You're not going to get TV money.
No, why would the TV networks have to pay you
But
when you
they're
don't?
saying the teams that lost the teams that lost money now are in better shape now when they're not playing. I don't know.
I guess anything's possible. Because obviously, all your the people who, your front office staff, you can lay them all off, I guess. But there in this area, a lot of people really love hockey. I have people come in all the time. They got all kinds of Bruins gear on, and they really miss hockey. And sure, they can watch some college hockey or something, but it's not the same.
Yeah, they say that especially the businesses around the Garden are losing big time money because the hockey fans are the ones that go out more to drink more than the basketball fans. They're a little crazier, hockey fans. They're close to wrestling fans. I consider them. I think the wrestling fans, and then it goes hockey fans, and then football fans, then basketball and baseball are more calm.
I remember I was at a Red Sox game, and I came back, and it was quite late in the year, and the Bruins fans just flooded the train. I mean, the Bruins fans are so much more enthusiastic than the other sports teams' fans. I mean, the Patriots fans are enthusiastic.
Yeah, but they're crazier too.
Well, yeah.
Well, I can prove it. It's very easy to prove that most Bruins fans, they're missing a couple of marbles in their heads. I told you today, I'm listening to a radio sports show, and his dad brings his daughter from Connecticut to the first hockey game. So he says, my daughter had a great time today. That's the day that they had like 5 fights in the first 30 seconds of the game.
Against Montreal.
And she loved it. I says, anyone who loves fights in hockey, they got to be a little soft. And I bet you 90% of the hockey fans love when there's fights. They're the ones that are upstanding, they're throwing stuff out on the... So you're telling me they're not crazy?
I mean, if I were a hockey fan and a fight broke out, that's a great time to put the cookies in the oven.
But I dislike it.
No,
That's what turned me off from hockey. People clapping, getting up, pounding the boards, the glass when there's a fight, and they're pointing at people. I mean, that's why they go to the game, half of them.
If we're watching a hockey game, who do we want to watch? We want to watch the Wayne Gretzky's, the guy that can make the great player. Who's got the Bobby Hull has
Stanley
a great
Cup,
great shot.
Playoffs.
Something.
The Olympics. That type of hockey. I mean, that's great hockey.
Well, the only news, I guess, is Derek Sanderson's book is out, or it's been out, and they're talking about it's going to be made into a movie, like some kind of biography about Derek Sanderson and his travails, which Sanderson was a player back on the Big Bad Bruins in the early 70s. He made the pass to Bobby Orr that, resulted in the winning goal to win the first Stanley Cup against the Blues. Well, Sanderson was just a wild man. I mean,
they were all wild back then. I mean, I heard stories. My former boss owned the Diplomat in Saugus, and during that era, after the game they used to go there, and I mean they were all great. He said they were all great guys, but they loved to have a good time. Some of the jokes they did when Orr tore up his knee and he was in the Mass General, and they went up there and they rolled his bed out of the Mass General.
Yeah.
They took him across the street to the where they used to hang around the grill there, and they would drink, and he's laying in his hospital bed. They used to do crazy things like that.
Well, and just to finish up one note, the former Bruin Adam Oates just got inducted into the Hockey Hall of Fame, and I'm not as big a hockey fan. I did not know he was that great a player that he deserved that, but congratulations to him.
Yeah, he was a great player.
Well, we'll be right back. Welcome back. They say baseball is such a great game that it can't even destroy itself, no matter how hard it tries. And this week, they're trying pretty hard. The Florida Marlins, a team with ordinarily a pretty low payroll anyway, basically traded all the good players on their team except Giancarlo Stanton to the Blue Jays for a bag of sand. Josh Johnson, Mark Burley, and Jose Reyes got traded for a bunch of prospects. So Toronto is trying to capitalize on the confusion on the Red Sox, Yankees, and so forth, and think that they can sneak in and maybe do something.
Yeah, the fans can't get upset because they're not getting fans down there anyway. So, I mean, that's what the owner looked at. He said, even with these top players, Johnson and Reyes, we're not getting the fans. So he's saving big-time money. He's getting prospects. I heard one of the prospects is supposed to be real good. I don't know anything about him.
Well, I mean, they should be good, but huge salary dump. Reyes has like $80 million left or something, and Burley's got a big contract. And Johnson, the Red Sox had tried to go after him last year. We'll see how it goes.
But, it goes back to no matter if you get Reyes and you get Johnson, you still need a team behind them. I mean, then it's useless. Why throw away the money if you don't have the team behind them? But I think Toronto may help Toronto because they did have some talent there, especially if Batista comes back healthy.
Well, the news flash today was that, used car salesman Bud Selig, commissioner of baseball, is looking at the deal with regard to the, quote, best interest of the game clause, end quote. Everybody remembers back in the day the Red Sox got Joe Rudy and Raleigh Fingers for cash, and then the commissioner of baseball voided that deal.
Well, what if Vida Blue go? Did he go to the Yankees? Yeah, he dressed with the Yankees for a while, I thought.
Yeah,
they canceled.
Oakland tried to dump salary back in the day, and the commissioner of baseball disallowed it. But, we'll see what happens.
Johnson could have a great year, though.
Right.
Johnson could really help him.
Meanwhile, the Red Sox signed Ross to a deal. Not Cody Ross, David Ross, backup catcher. Now, he's okay for a backup catcher, which obviously creates a new issue. Is that probably means that either Saltalamacchia or Lavarnway is not going to be here next year.
Yeah, I'm not crazy about Lavarnway. Number one, he's not a great fielding catcher, and they gave him a chance. He didn't hit much. He may be one of those players where he's going to hit 250, strike out a lot, hit a home run here or there. So I don't think they're too confident in him. Saltalamacchia, he hit with some power last year. You don't like him as a defensive catcher.
I guess it was probably early in the season he missed a pop-up 2 days in a row, and just dropped both of them, and that kind of soured me, aside from the fact that he only throws out 15% of runners, but maybe the Red Sox pitchers don't hold anybody on either, so I can't blame the catchers entirely for that.
Yeah, but the Red Sox, they still haven't done anything, and they have all that money.
Right, they've done nothing. First of all, as we said before, they're making a big deal. They didn't raise ticket prices. Well, you cut 3/4 of your payroll, and John Henry just closed down his commodity trading fund. So the big business of Henry now is the sports conglomerate that's Liverpool, Nesson, the Red Sox, and Fenway Roush Racing. Well, the Red Sox seem to be getting the short end here, or maybe their money is going to be used to finance soccer, which, needless to say, we don't really care about. But the Red Sox have no first baseman. If Iglesias is shortstop, they have a shortstop who can field and can't hit anything. They have no left fielder, no right fielder. They still need a starter. They have a lot of holes.
What makes me laugh, Ron? You listen to these talk shows, and the Red Sox fans, they follow them because I listen to them calling in. It's kind of funny. I laugh a lot when I listen to them. The talk shows, they come out and say, oh, it was a great move by the Red Sox, saving all that money, letting Gonzalez go, Crawford go, Beckett go. Great move. Now they have all this money. And then they say, so the Red Sox fans get behind them. Yeah, we got all this money now. All right. What are they going to do with the money? Now they don't want to blow money, spending big-time money on any players anymore. So who are they going to bring in? Who are they going to have? A Cody Rosses, like 6 Cody Rosses on the team?
Well, the question, Ross is not exactly the greatest defensive player either. I think he's just a little bit better than a Mike Greenwell in the outfield, which, of all the Red Sox outfielders ever, Greenwell led the league in RIOs, running into outfielders. He was a bad defender. To me, Manny Ramirez is a better defender than Greenwell. But be that as it may, the Sox just have a lot of holes. I mean, they have literally nobody to put out there. You know, you're going to say Daniel Nava? He's not a mate. I mean, he's a fringe major leaguer. You know, they should be okay at third base with Middlebrooks. Presumably they'll be okay at catcher, but not good. And the pitching rotation, we're relying on John Lackey to come back and be a really good pitcher. Well, okay, he was hurt, but he wasn't a really great pitcher before that.
No, they got to hope that he's steady. I mean, he was steady with the Angels. They got to hope he's steady. Maybe go 16 and 12 around there.
And they hope that Lester, Buchholz, and Dubront do something, but
and pick up someone else. You know, hopefully have another pitcher. But you know, the problem the Red Sox have is, you know, this is Ortiz at the end of his career. You know, if you don't believe he's still on it, I know he's still on it, PED, because 2 years ago he couldn't get around on the fastball. Now he's crushing the ball again, just like Barry Bonds did. So you know he's on something. They're hiding it. And we're Red Sox fans, we said it earlier, they won 2 world championships because they had the two of the best players in baseball were on steroids. Same thing with the Yankees. The Yankees won a championship because A-Rod was on steroids and Clemens was on steroids, and whoever else on both teams was on it.
well,
And it's that simple,
the
Ron.
Giants win 2 championships, and there's not, you know, 10 people in Melrose, including me, who can name 10 players on the Giants.
But
So-
the Red Sox and Yankees are in bad shape. You know, another thing I believe, Ron, over the years, the last several years, Red Sox and Yankees have spent a lot of money, big-time money on players. And a lot of those players have come up, you know, positive on steroids, PED or whatever. And, you know, and they've thrown away money. So now when they're starting to test more, some of the players are going off it, like A-Rod. What's he doing? He's one of the worst third basemen in baseball right now, making $28 million a year.
Well, and people are talking, Swisher's a free agent. Swisher was horrible in the playoffs.
2 for 28 with men in scoring position in the playoffs
You
over
know,
the years.
And, you know, he's getting older now. He's not the kind of guy you want to sign for 3 years, $35 million. I just don't think you're going to get any return on that.
You need clutch players. You need clutch players. The Red Sox, maybe Pedroia's a clutch player. He's been hurt off and on, you know, on the Red Sox. Now Ortiz, again, Ortiz is a clutch player. The Yankees, with Jeter out, they don't have one clutch player on that team.
Well, obviously, we didn't really get into this yet. I think the MVP balloting is being released today. I mean, I'm thinking, how can you not give it to the guy who won the
I
Triple
think
Crown?
Cabrera won it, I think.
Okay, I didn't hear that, but I mean, I would vote Cabrera over Trout, but not by a lot. But you know, first guy to win the Triple Crown in 45 years. That's not that easy.
What's that number they're going by? They're saying Trout is over 1,000 and
Oh, no.
Cabrera's 600 and something.
No, it's OPS, on-base slugging percentage.
No, then they have another number. Then they have
Oh,
another
we have
thing.
the late news in from Jeff. Miguel Cabrera and Buster Posey win the MVP awards. Well, so there you have it. Cabrera won 22 of 28 first-place votes. So for traditionalists, the Triple Crown does, in fact, still mean something. And
How about Price beating out Verlander, huh? I was surprised at
Yeah.
that, even though he had a good season.
yeah, Price is outstanding pitcher for Tampa. And, I mean, Tampa, that's why we've both said that Joe Madden, how smart is it to have great pitchers you just run out there every day?
I mean,
You know.
to me, he's way overrated. I mean, you have every time a pitcher goes out, you know he's going to give you 7 good innings or 8. So then you put in your closer or whoever you have. You know, maybe a pitcher to pitch the 8th and 1 in the 9th inning. And what decisions you have to make on that team?
All right. So, you know, and obviously the big news is whether the Red Sox hire 1 or 2 hitting coaches. Really, does that make, I mean, I just can't get that excited about that.
No, I mean, who are they going to work with right now?
Well, right. I mean, Iglesias, he's sticking around here because they have to help him get stronger. You mean so those ground balls to shortstop can be a harder ground ball to shortstop?
Well, your first 4 hitters in the lineup, but they got to get a power hitting right-handed hitter because I mean the first, you know, you have Ellsbury, you have Pedroia, you have Middlebrooks, and you have Ortiz. I mean the first 4 hitters are strong, but after that, I mean, what do you have?
Well, it's literally fill in the blank because we don't even know who those guys are. You know, my guess is they're going to overpay for Mike Napoli, and you know he doesn't really want to play first base. But my guess is that enough dollars, and he'll say, yeah, I can play first base.
The Yankees are going after him too, so I think it's going to be between those two teams, the Red Sox and Yankees.
So two teams overpaying for Mike Napoli. Now, obviously, there's the question whether they could go after Josh Hamilton. Hamilton, I hope he stays in Texas for his career, and he's a Cal Ripken-like guy. Hamilton's had substance abuse problems. I think he needs a very supportive environment with his family and so forth. And I think if he goes to Boston or New York, you know, he's probably going to end up being a problem child.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to get $54 million over 3 years, $18 million a year.
From Texas?
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go longer than that.
Yeah, I think it's not so much. Maybe it's character, maybe it's personality, whatever. And the same thing for Zach Greinke. Guy's had a nervous breakdown. You want to come if you're a person who's had a nervous breakdown. Do you want to go into the pressure cooker that's Boston or New York? I don't think so.
No, a lot of players. That's why a lot of players don't want to play there, especially with the Red Sox now. I mean, there are not many players. You know, you'll get a player, you'll get a right-handed pull hitter who'll come to Fenway to get his numbers up there for his next contract.
Well, who was the guy from Colorado that went to New York, the pitcher, for the Yankees? And I can't remember the lefty. I'm blanking on his name. But anyway, he just didn't. It didn't work out. You know, it's not always about the money. You know, it's better to have your family situation and your mental health straight rather than take an extra couple of $1 million and end up, you know, distressed down the road. Now, it's basketball season, and there's, you know, some pretty interesting news in basketball. You know, one of the more interesting sideline stories last night was Zach Randolph and Kendrick Perkins. They had a little dispute over a foul during the game, and Perkins said, let's take it outside. You know, that's what I like. Players who are really sincere about their job. They want to fight each other over, you know, a rebound.
I'll tell you, Randolph's talented, Ron. If he can stay healthy, I mean, he's going to have a great season. 2 years ago, he had a great season, but last year he was hurt a lot. But he's one of the better offensive players in the league.
And then
right
you
now.
had the sideline that is the Lakers, where Mike Brown gets canned after going 1-4 in the start. Phil Jackson has practically moved into the office, and then they hire Mike D'Antoni, and Jackson say, what happened?
Yeah, and Magic Johnson's upset too that they didn't hire Jackson. But what did they expect? He didn't want to go on certain road trips.
Right.
He didn't want to go to certain practices. And he wants $10 million.
Well, right. I can't understand if the coach says, well, I just don't want to travel with the team, you know, on a regular basis. You know, I don't blame the Lakers for that. Now, and D'Antoni's a very offensive-minded coach. He will put people, they're going to get a lot of open shots, and they're going to score. Now, the question is, will they be able to play defense? Now, Nash worked with D'Antoni in the past, and, you know, presumably he'll be effective in that system. Kobe Bryant, if he's healthy enough, is going to get his shot, so
yeah,
we'll
but
see.
Kobe Bryant and Howard together, that's not good for the team. You have Nash and Gasol, two good guys, you know, two talented players. Then you have two babies in Howard and Bryant. If Kobe Bryant, if things don't go right, he pouts, he gets on the coach, you know. And how happy is he going to be with Nash if Nash is really faltering, if he's not the same player he was before? He's getting older and older on. He's not going to be able to run with the Rondos anymore.
Right. And then, of course, the Celtics. Now, I don't know what to think about the Celtics so far. The best part of the Celtics to me is Doc Rivers. He's really an outstanding coach. He also seems to be a really outstanding guy. You know, he really cares. He cares about his relationship with management. He cares about the players. What did I hear? Oh gosh, Keon Dooling had a nervous breakdown over the summer, and who's there in the hospital visiting him is Rivers and Ainge, because he was really very helpful as a mentor to Rondo and some of the younger players. And in fact, they've hired Dooling in an advisory capacity. They call it Dooling's job. You know, he's kind of a goodwill ambassador for the team, and but you know, Rivers is not only is a good guy and he's a good coach. He's good X's and O's. They always have a great play to run coming out of timeouts and stuff.
He's well respected throughout the league. The players on the other teams really respect him. I think they had that vote, and they respect him the most. You know, respected by the other players. Yeah, he's a real good coach. I hope sometimes he'll give up on the younger players. I mean, he's given up on one game, right? I mean, what's his name, Milicic?
Milicic, yeah.
He had a bad game, bad 5 minutes. You haven't seen him on the court. I mean, that's the way coach. Ainge always says that's the way coaches are. They think of the games. They don't think of.
Right.
Although he's doing a good job with Garnett, like you say.
Well, if you watch the Celtics right now, there's not a lot of flow. It's just
too much Rondo dribbling. That's why I was happy to watch Barboza yesterday. Barboza, everybody was handling the ball. They were moving. When you're watching Rondo dribble, and I know a lot of people know the game that have played point guard and that don't like watching him the way he's playing the game now because it's all Rondo, dribbling until he passes to someone for the shot, where the ball should be moved quicker, make the defense react faster, and that's where you get open players. But hopefully it'll change a little. But I like watching Barboza yesterday.
Yeah, and I've been very pleased by watching Chris Wilcox. I think he's done a good job. I mean, he's not a kind of guy you want in there 25 minutes a game, but his 12 to 15 minutes per game, he rebounds, he hustles. Bass is Bass. For now it looks like he's beaten out Sullinger because he's a little bit more mobile and can shoot better.
He can shoot the ball. Yeah. And Sullinger's afraid to shoot right now. He shot last year, but you watch him now. He gets the ball outside, doesn't even look for his shot. I mean, Rivers should tell. But, he's the type of player that as the years go by, believe it or not, he'll feel more and more comfortable in the offense.
Yeah, I think that right now they're saying rebound, block out, play good defense, don't worry about scoring. We got other guys who can score.
You know what else I've been noticing lately is that Bass is doing a great job against the pick and roll. He's attacking it better. He's worked a lot with Garnett.
Right.
Where last year he was terrible.
Yeah, he's improved, and the guy they need to get going and they're working to get going is Jeff Green. He needs to have a bigger role, more minutes, scoring. The guy's not the greatest rebounder for a 6'9" player, but also he had a really long layoff after his heart surgery, understandably, so it's not easy to expect him to come back and play full tilt. He had a monster dunk last night over Al Jefferson, though.
You know what I think he has a problem with, Ron, especially in a half-court game? I think he has a problem thinking out the game. He thinks too much. The game doesn't come to him easy enough because you could see him hesitant about, and then he'll say, okay, I'll take the jump shot. But it's not in the flow, where you're getting the ball off a pick or whatever, or on the move when you're coming up. So you hopefully gets better at that.
Well, what's interesting is Jefferson is a free agent at the end of the year, and Jefferson loves Rivers. And apparently when they come once a year, Jefferson usually has dinner with Rivers. And Jefferson says, well, yeah, Boston's the first place I ever played. I love Boston. So, we'll see.
Will they have the money, though?
I don't know.
Because they have Garnett another year after this. They have Pierce another year after this. And I don't know if they'll have the money to sign because he's going to want about $15 million anyway.
Oh yeah, no, if not max, but we'll see because it would just be interesting to see because I like Jefferson's game a lot.
Oh yeah, how many low post players are there nowadays?
No, he's legitimate. He always had those good moves in the low post. He's got the little jump hook. He's got the little shot off the backboard, and and he's not a knucklehead either. But
I think the Celtics are going to get better, though, Ron, at moving the ball. I mean, I think Rondo, hopefully it's just this till everybody gets used to playing with each other. Because remember last year how many wide open shots Bass got off the pit, right. Ball movement. Hopefully it gets better.
Well, I hope so. Jason Terry, he's going to play better off the bench, I think. Courtney Lee, I'm not sure what to think about. So far I haven't been very impressed, but it takes a while for guys to integrate into the new team.
Where's the celebration going to be Saturday?
I don't know, but I want to be there wherever it is. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.